Hey, hello. So today in Canada, we have our first ever national holiday. I guess you call it a national, I don't even want to call it a holiday, a day of recognition of uh, truth and reconciliation. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? You know, um, I'd venture to say that many of us have no idea what that means. And but here we are, day one, and September 30th, um, 2021, first day of recognition day. I don't want to call it a holiday. It's a day of recognition. Maybe it's a day of mourning in a way. Maybe it's a day of awakening. But I'd like it to be a day of awakening and a platform for all of us, indigenous, white, all people from all races to become aware of what I have come to know as unconscious bias. And where does unconscious bias come from? I talked to a friend earlier today, and uh, she asked me to remember, as a youth, as a kid, you know, was there unconscious bias? And of course there was. I was brought up in New Brunswick, and we had um, a French English thing as a kid. I was brought up in kind of English New Brunswick, and so there was an unconscious bias around the language thing, and there was and then as people came from other countries into Canada, there was this conversation about who are they coming to take our jobs, and there was just and it just was there. It bubbled up, and I think often it bubbles up out of fear, and so with our I'm not even going to begin to talk about the depth of the unconscious bias that it is there and has been there for many generations around our indigenous people. I'm not qualified. I know that I don't know the depth of it. I know that, but I hope that something I might say can help us to look at ourselves, no matter where we are in the spectrum, you know, whether, no matter who we are, all peoples, to look at ourselves and look at our unconscious bias. I know it exists in the indigenous community, that there's an anger, there's even a hatred towards maybe some of the us, the white people, and I know that it goes both ways, and it seems justified by some people. I've heard all kinds of jokes. I mean, I was brought up on jokes about indigenous people, and I mean, it's unconscious bias, and you know so where how do we stop? How do we discover each other? And my opinion is that we listen, that we open ourselves to the fact that we don't know. You know what there's no way that we can understand each other or come to love each other without listening. And so listening is the door opener. And also then to watch ourselves. Where are we caught in a conditioned belief, an unconscious bias, a race ism, or um, some sort of judgment that we have on each other. And as we see these in ourselves, to become aware. It seems that my business these days is, what I'm hoping to do is create awareness, And this is just one of those subjects. I mean, we're we're often, most of us, just not even aware of our own self-talk, and how we have unconscious bias even towards ourselves, um, and 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 then towards others. So how do we change? Well, be present, you know, be open, have a context of um, acceptance and love, um, and recognize. I think that there's you know the there's no quick fix. We can't throw money at something and hope it's going to change. Only, I believe, love and understanding can can create change. So, and and uh, and you know, yeah, listen. That's it. Recognize that it's there. We have unconscious bias. You know, it's in the system. It's systemic. It's with us, and we don't even know it. So recognize that we know that we don't know, and that for all of us, a healing, it needs to happen. And to say, well, I'm going to wait 2 or 3 generations for it to happen. It has to start with us. If it's going to happen in the future generations, it has to start with us now. And so be available for love. That's my message today. Be available for love, and love is listening. Love is hearing. Love is being aware of our judgments, and finding ourselves available, and admitting that we don't know. There's no way we can really understand another community, because we're not that community. And so that's my message today. Be aware of unconscious bias, and find your way into situations where we can listen and be available. And there's no quick fix. It's not a quick fix. There's nothing in a way to fix. This is who we are. Now let's see who we can become in each moment. And being present helps that to happen. So that's my message. So hopefully that's some help. I'd like to hear your experience with your own experience, to be open, if you'd like, about your own unconscious bias, and and the way it creeps in, the jokes, the complaints about others, other cultures, we and they, and yeah, say something, share a bit about your own experience in this field, or in this situation. I'd love to hear about that from you. And because the conversation is how we can begin to heal. If you have fears around people from other cultures, talk about it. If you have judgment, talk about it, so that we can begin, to heal ourselves, and to bring more love into each moment. Well, we can't bring love into each moment, but to expose the love. The love is already there. The love is already there. We are that. And the other is conditioning. It's the mind, thinking it knows, and trying to protect itself. Okay, so I've been reading, when I've been doing these little talks, and I've been reading from the Tao Te Ching, and it was written by lao-tzu hundreds and maybe several thousand years ago. I don't know exactly, but this interpretation by Stephen Mitchell is beautiful. This is chapter 63. It's very short. It says, act without doing, work without effort. Think of the small as large, and the few as many. Confront the difficult while it is still easy. Accomplish the great task by a series of small acts. Wow, that really fits into what we're saying, eh? We have to be available for love. The master never reaches for the great. Thus, she achieves greatness. When she runs into a difficulty, she stops and gives herself to it. She doesn't cling to her own comfort. Thus, problems are no problems for her. Beautiful. The master never reaches for the great. Thus, she achieves greatness. When she runs into a difficulty, she stops and gives herself to it. She doesn't cling to her own comfort. Thus, problems are no problems for her. So, just a reminder, it's a national day of recognition of the truth and reconciliation that's happening in our nation. And it's happening globally, you know. It is a global situation, you know, and the whole thing is listening and understanding and loving in each moment. And trusting that things are unfolding as they should. We may think often that things are falling apart, and maybe they're not falling apart. Maybe they're falling together. Jung, somebody quoted something to me the other day from Jung, and it basically said we needed to face and be involved in calamity. We needed to suffer to grow. And so I think that this is a time of great growth for the whole planet. It seems like a time of confusion, but I think it's a time of great growth. Okay, love you guys. Thanks so much for listening. Love it if you check us out on YouTube. Okay, bye.